Winnie the Pooh? That's the nickname that some people have given to the Chinese leader Xi Jinping after he decided to ban the beloved bear. The reason why is slightly funny. It dates back to the mid-2010s after some people compared a 2013 image of Obama and Xi Jinping walking alongside each other to Tigger and Winnie the Pooh. After which, the joke stuck, and for the next several years, people would say that the Chinese president looked like Pooh. However, the largest political party in China, the CCP, otherwise known as the Chinese Communist Party, didn't like this comparison, and so over the past few years have actually been cracking down on the comparisons because they don't want their leader to be mocked. Now, despite a lot of people's assumptions that know about this, it's not like Winnie the Pooh is outlawed in China. You can still buy Winnie the Pooh merch, and there's even a Winnie the Pooh ride within Disneyland Shanghai. However, in 2018, it was announced that the Disney film Christopher Robin, starring Ewan McGregor, would be banned in China. This movie never got a theatrical release within China because of the Winnie the Pooh censorship. It's possible that this was because they didn't want the masses to all go in and see the movie and then start talking about Winnie the Pooh all at once. If the movie did well there, then you'd have a bunch of people talking about it, with probably a few people cracking a joke or making the comparison, so China instead decided to just walk away and not let the film air within the country in the first place. But Christopher Robin is just the first of many banned Disney films that we're going to talk about today. I still have plenty of forbidden films yet to discuss, with reasons ranging from the blatant to the bizarre in this latest installment of the Book of the Banned. I don't want to wait another second to get into things, so let's dive in. I think the most natural place to carry on would be to stay in China for a little bit, because Winnie the Pooh is not the only film that they've banned in the past. Back in 2006, China had apparently banned Mary Poppins for a very peculiar reason. So let's figure out why. So Mary Poppins is the story of a magical nanny, played by Julie Andrews, who comes into the lives of a dysfunctional London family and they go on a series of fantastic adventures. The film is often revered as one of the quintessential family classics, with it performing extremely well both at the time and ever since. However, more than 40 years after it was released, back in 2006, the film was banned in China, and the reason why is slightly confusing even after learning what it is. The film does not contain any content that the Chinese wanted censored. It doesn't have a character that wasn't fitting, nothing in the story warranted its censorship. The reason that it was banned was apparently because it mixed live action and animation into one medium. So this erasure was not exclusive towards Mary Poppins. Other properties such as Space Jam, Blue's Clues, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit would have also fallen under this umbrella. They too may have been banned back in 2006. Let me preface this by saying that all of the sources that I found were written up when the ban was just announced, so I can't say for absolute certainty if the country actually went through with it and these were all banned in the end. But at least according to various reputable sources such as Forbes, this was going to happen. Now, the reasoning behind this, from what I could find, was that China was tired of having their children's entertainment reliant on the West. They had previously limited foreign cartoons to only 40% of airtime in China. Of course, this meant that regardless of the quality, even if it was a classic like Mary Poppins, a movie of animation and live action would be banned, whereas a lower quality movie that was just solely animation would be allowed to stay. But potentially as a means of protecting the Chinese cartoon industry, Mary Poppins had to go. To this very day, I couldn't find any sources on whether or not it's since been unbanned. It may have been, but if it was, this seems to have gone unreported. Moving westward now, we cross one of the world's longest international borders into Russia after they banned a wartime Disney film 60 years after it was created.
Here, improve the mind.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit worried that this next section is going to get zucked by the algorithm, but we have to do it anyway. If you're not up to date with your dark Disney lore, De Fuhre's Face is a Donald Duck short film from the early 1940s that a lot of people have seen screenshots from and then assumed that it meant that Disney was supporting of the Nazi Party. They see a still of Donald Duck doing the old hand in the air praising Hitler move, and without context, assume that this short film was pro-Hitler. However, in reality, quite the opposite was true. This was actually an anti-Nazi short, and at the end of the film it's revealed that Donald Duck was having a nightmare and he rejoices at the sight of the Statue of Liberty. At least on Wikipedia, the film is described as American propaganda, not Nazi. Feurher's face would win Best Animated Short at the 15th Academy Awards, is regarded as one of the most iconic animated short films of all time, and confirmed the canonical existence of Hitler within the Mickey Mouse universe. However, the film is clearly not without its controversy. In 2010, after an individual had uploaded the film up onto the internet, out in the far east of Russia, in an area called Kamchatka, the film was misinterpreted as extremist material. Therefore, a local court ruled that the film should be banned, adding it onto a list of banned extremist content, which by the mid-2010s had 3,500 entries. Now, I don't know if they got approval from the rest of the country, but banned the film was. Well, that was until 2016, when another Russian court noticed the mistake and had the decision overturned, arguing that it was clear to see that the film's portrayal of Nazism was unserious. Donald Duck in the short was a caricature. Therefore, 6 years after being made forbidden, the ban was lifted, and Feurher's face was legal to view once again. And we're going to stay way back in the past to talk about our next film. Let's take things back to a short that was released almost 100 years ago. Unless we have any 95-year-olds here watching, this short will be older than every single person who's viewing this video right now. That short is, of course, The Skeleton Dance. Released in 1929, The Skeleton Dance is one of Disney's earliest ever productions, being the first in a long line of silly symphony short films. As the name Silly Symphony suggests, these were originally silent films with music played over the top. The Skeleton Dance is arguably the most famous of these, with the film depicting 4 skeletons that come out of their graves at night and do a little dance. This film is spooky, it's genuinely kind of creepy. The old school animation really does it wonders, but that might have been its problem. According to one particular country, this movie was actually too scary for its audience, so the film was pulled. That country was Denmark, a land that was once home to Vikings known for their gore and brutality. We're now banning an animated short film for being too scary. According to a Screen Rant article, in 1930, the New York Times reported that Denmark had banned the skeleton dance entirely for being too macabre for audiences. The concern was that the black and white animation, combined with the intense music, was too graphic and frightening for its target audience at the time. Keep in mind that as a Disney production, this would have been seen by kids. Since the cartoon's release, the ban in Denmark has been lifted, and Disney has continued to expand their work in the horror genre following the short's initial release. Of course, this was an isolated incident that, to my knowledge, has only ever happened once. I don't think any other Disney film has ever been banned for being too scary. So for our next entry in the Book of the Banned, I want to talk about one of the most common reasons why Disney movies have been banned around the world, and that is LGBT representation.
I think it would be fun if me and you went to a place, or perhaps a thing, together.
Are you asking me on a date?
I think that it would be best to lump all of these in together because unlike the other films that we've discussed today that have particular distinct reasons for being banned, these ones are all essentially different sides of the same coin. Over the past few years, Disney has made strides in trying to incorporate inclusivity into their work. In fact, back in 2022, they promised that 50% of their characters would be LGBT or racial minorities. This policy, as well as Disney's general attitude towards representation, has faced pushback from a lot of people for a varying number of reasons. But it's not just individuals that aren't fans of Disney's push for representation, but governments too. While no countries to my knowledge have any forms of bans on any Disney movie showing racial minorities, many do for sexual minorities, aka the LGBT community. Within many countries around the world, but specifically in Africa, the Middle East and Southeast Asia, homosexuality is not legal, and therefore airing a movie in theatres that has LGBT characters shown to kids is certainly not on the cards. Clearly, this is against Disney's current outlook, and therefore many of their recent films have been banned in various countries around the world. To list them all off, these movies include Beauty and the Beast, not the 1991 animated classic, but the 2017 live-action remake. And the reason it was banned was because the character LeFou, played by Josh Gad, is canonically gay in the movie. If you've seen the movie, you might be wondering if you've missed something, because it's not like LeFou is out there waving a big rainbow flag whilst he's hunting down the beast. But if you look closely, there is what's been described as a gay moment at the end, where LeFou dances with a man for about 2 seconds. This was enough for Russia to consider banning it, for Kuwait to outright ban it, and for Malaysia to postpone its release and slap it with a 13+ age rating. Then we have Onward, released by Pixar in 2020. The film centers around a pair of brothers who go out on a quest to temporarily revive their deceased father. And along the way, the audience is introduced to who I believe to be Disney's first confirmed lesbian character, that being Officer Spectre, voiced by Lena White. Now, Officer Spectre, unlike LeFou, doesn't even have a gay moment, she only verbally references her sexuality by saying that she has a girlfriend. According to the BBC, the movie was therefore banned in several Middle Eastern countries, including Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. And the line about her girlfriend was changed to the gender-neutral partner in Russia as to keep her sexuality ambiguous. Following that, in 2021, Disney released The Eternals via Marvel. And within The Eternals, they had what, if I'm not mistaken, was Marvel's first gay kiss. This kiss was shared between the characters of Phastos, played by Brian Tyree Henry, and Phastos' husband named Ben, played by Haz Slayman. The kiss made the film a topic of controversy in North Africa and the Middle East. According to Deadline, the film did not plan to release in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Oman. The article went on to say that intimate scenes would have been removed within the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Lebanon, and Egypt, though this is apparently standard practice for those countries and would apply to homosexual as well as heterosexual moments. Moving on, we have West Side Story. But it wasn't the 1961 classic that was banned, but Steven Spielberg's 2021 remake. The reason behind this ban is because of a character named Anybody's. Now, the character of Anybody's, while small, originally depicted a tomboy that wanted to join one of the gangs in the movie, the Jets, but they weren't allowed to join because the Jets only allowed in boys. In the 2021 remake, Spielberg said that after re-examining the script, he realised that Anybody's was a trans character hiding in plain sight. The non-binary actor Iris Menace would play the character, who in this version was described as a character who was a man born in a female's body. And this creative decision would cause the film to be banned in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, and the UAE. And it was more of the same when it came to Lightyear. Lightyear, of course, was a Pixar-made Toy Story spin-off about Buzz that was released in 2022 to most places around the world, but not in a whopping 14 different countries. The reason was, once again, because of LGBT content. This time because of a same-sex kissing scene between a character named Alicia Hawthorne and her wife. For that reason, the movie was banned in the UAE, Lebanon, Jordan, Malaysia, Indonesia, Egypt, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Palestine, Syria, and Iraq. Notice how more and more countries are banning films now compared to the likes of Beauty and the Beast and Onward a few years prior. This would go up even more though, because by the time Disney planned to release Strange World, whose main character is gay, it just decided not to air it in more than 20 countries, likely because it knew that the film had no chance. If countries are going to ban a film simply due to the mentioning of a lesbian relationship or a 2-second dance, there is no way that they're going to greenlight another that has an LGBT protagonist. And therefore, according to a Deadline source that I found, which was confirmed by other sources, Strange World never had a theatrical release in all of the Middle East, China, Malaysia, Indonesia, Pakistan, Turkey, Vietnam, East Africa, West Africa, the Maldives, Nepal, and Bangladesh. The film had a budget of $150 million without advertising and only made back a little more than $70 million, making it one of Disney's largest ever flops. Whether or not the releases in these countries would have made the film profitable, that's up for debate, but it would have perhaps softened the blow. Nonetheless, it'll be interesting to see how Disney handles its LGBT representation moving forward. Whether it will stick to its guns and carry on making these films, knowing that they'll be banned in various countries and that this might impact their finances, or if they'll back down and make cultural adjustments. With a good chunk of Disney films being both critical and commercial failures post-pandemic, desperation might set in. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out. It's no secret that most of the countries that were banning films due to their LGBT characters were located in the Middle East, and the Middle East just so happens to be the area in the world that inspired where Aladdin was set. Aladdin is of course a Disney movie that had its original cut banned because of an unsavory line.
Say the magic words.
Genie, I wish for you to make me a prince.
All right! Yo, yo, woo, woo, woo.
So Aladdin is from a city called Agrabah, which is a fictional city apparently inspired by Baghdad, the capital of Iraq. During the opening song, titled Arabian Nights, the opening verse went as such: "Oh, I come from a land from a faraway place where the caravan camels roam, where they cut off your ear if they don't like your face, it's barbaric, but hey, it's home." This verse very quickly came under scrutiny, with many people arguing that it perpetuated negative stereotypes about Arabians. In fact, the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee, otherwise known as the ACD, demanded the line be changed. They generally didn't like the representation put to screen. And these days, Aladdin has been hit with the disclaimer screen when you click on it on Disney+, telling audiences that it has outdated racial stereotypes. The song was later changed in 1993, so instead of the line where they cut off your ear if they don't like your face, it's since been changed to where it's flat and immense and the heat is intense. And so, to this day, the original version of the movie is banned. You could not go to the store and see an Aladdin DVD made any time recently that had the original lyric. Somewhat similar to that, let's move on to a movie that has since been banned due to its outdated cultural depictions, that being Song of the South.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-ay. Wonderful feeling, wonderful day.
So Song of the South is a 1946 film that takes place in Georgia shortly after the abolition of slavery. It stars James Baskett in his final film role, portraying a character named Uncle Remus who works on a plantation and befriends a young boy named Johnny, played by Bobby Driscoll. Now, Uncle Remus is actually a character from old African American folktales, with the character created by Joel Chandler Harris back in 1881. As with a lot of media featuring African American characters post-World War II, their depictions would be deemed as outdated, stereotypical, and potentially offensive by today's standards. However, Song of the South was also considered offensive back then too. You can find images on the internet of people protesting the film even back when it was released. There was a newspaper called The Afro-American which published a review from Richard B. Dyer, who described the film as vicious a piece of propaganda for white supremacy as Hollywood ever produced. Moreover, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., a congressman from Harlem, branded the film an insult to American minorities and everything that America as a whole stands for. Black audience members didn't like the fact that the black characters within the film were subservient to the white characters. They also generally disliked the black characters' exaggerated dialects and the reinforcement of black stereotypes. In the decades since the film released, despite it winning an Academy Award for its original song Zippity Doo Dah, Disney has tried its best to sever ties to its production. It was never distributed on VHS, and it hasn't yet, nor do I think it will ever be placed on Disney+. The film isn't legally banned or anything. It's not like if you watch Song of the South you're gonna have the FBI burst through your door, but Disney have essentially banned it from being distributed without piracy. In their eyes, the less people who see this now regrettable movie, the better. Though the controversies in the Song of the South happened such a long time ago, so let's discuss a movie that was banned a lot more recently, that being Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile.
You will arrest me now?
No. So long as you settle her affairs honestly and pay back what you owe.
So, if you don't know this movie, Death on the Nile is the second out of 3 current Hercule Poirot movies directed by Kenneth Branagh. The first of which being Murder on the Orient Express, releasing back in 2017, and the most recent being A Haunting in Venice, dropping back in 2023. These murder mystery films tend to have an all-star cast of characters, with actors such as Johnny Depp, Daisy Ridley and Judi Dench starring in The Orient Express, and Tina Fey and Michelle Yeoh starring in A Haunting in Venice. Death on the Nile, on the other hand, does also have quite a stacked cast, but it might as well be a prison lineup because of the controversies that various cast members have been in since the film's production. It stars the likes of Russell Brand, who was cancelled in September 2023 after an investigation conducted by Channel 4 and the Sunday Times alleged that Brand had assaulted and abused a number of previous partners, and it also stars Armie Hammer, who, to give you a TLDR, was cancelled before the film was even released after being accused of sexual abuse and cannibalism. What the f***? Though, despite the pair being amongst Hollywood's most reviled stars right now, neither are the reason that it was banned, with that distinction going to a different member of the cast, Gal Gadot. You see, Gal Gadot, despite being a very famous actress, used to be a combat instructor for the Israeli Defense Forces for 2 years as part of her mandatory military service. She's also since been quite vocal in her support for Israel and the IDF. Due to her appearance in the film, both Lebanon and Kuwait decided to ban Death on the Nile. And this happened back in early 2022, a good year and a half before the recent Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Lebanon, in fact, had previously banned Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 1984 due to Gadot's presence in the film, so this wasn't new to them. But with Death on the Nile being a Disney film, it qualifies for this video. And I hope that this video qualifies for your approval. If it did, then make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already yet. I'm nearing 150,000 subscribers, so your contribution would directly help me get over that line. As a small channel, your support means the world to me. If you want to see more of what I have to offer, then why not check out my huge Book of the Band compilation. This is a 3.5-hour video where I do a deep dive on all of the internet's infamous band content. Maybe it'll be something to help you sleep tonight. I highly recommend giving it a watch. Aside from that, I'd like to once more thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Yours sincerely, Fox.